everyone, Great Power 60 here. Another Tea with Me Tuesday, a time where we just talk, I chat, bring up things that are important or are not. Anyway, this is another teacup I brought out. I kind of thought it was pretty. I do love my tea, especially after supper. I don't know, it just. So I sat down here and I had a beautiful video for you, and we chatted about all kinds of things about faith, compassion, all kinds of things. And my video wasn't working properly, and it actually cut my head off about here. So I'm hoping that this time it's okay. I was talking about this book that my daughter had got me in 2006 for Mother's Day. And it is A Treasury of Miracles for Women, True Stories of God's Presence Today. Karen Kingsbury. In a time when I was going through a lot of stuff, and it was work related mostly, life related things happen in life, and she thought perhaps I might enjoy this. She knows that I have a lot of faith in my heart, and that I do pray and all of those things. And anyway, I read a story to you in another video from this book, and it brought tears to my eyes. I read it 3 times, and it's brought tears to my eyes every time, so I decided not to read it again. But every once in a while, we need to refresh ourselves. We need to look after ourselves and take the cobwebs of negativity out of our brains and out of our hearts, and just do something for ourselves. And today was one of those days for me. We went out. I had to pick up a few things, and it was a very uneventful day. But it's just there felt like a cloud hanging over us. And once we got in the car and we were driving around, that cloud seemed to have disappeared. And I think, mom gets a little tired of sitting and watching TV. I don't know how much of it she understands. I really don't. I think she tries to understand, but I think a lot of it gets lost in the sort of confusion of it all. Or maybe she does understand it, but she can't articulate it outward to vocalize using the right vocabulary to what she's trying to say. And with mom, I've kind of got used to different meanings of what she means. Like I say, if she's looking at the birds flying, she'll say the the trees. I don't know. The words get mixed up anyway. So we kind of got used to each other. But I don't know what it was, but after the drive with mom and we came home, I think we just needed that fresh air just to kind of get out of the house and feel good about ourselves. And it's always good for me to take mom for a little drive, even if it's just around the corner. But I find sometimes if I take her for a drive, like just outside the city, in the country where she can just kind of look at what's going on, she really, really enjoys that. And we're not with people. We're not, I know we're at stay-at-home orders, only go out if you have to, but we're not with people. We're sitting in the car and we're just, kind of driving around. And we need that for our mental health. We need that for our physical health, just to, get out. But things have been a little tough, but for me, I'm used to it. It's my own personality. A lot of people can't handle this stay at home. They want to rebel against it. They want to, stamp their feet and scream and yell, and don't want to deal with what's going on. And I sat down the other day and I was thinking of all the different generations of, of people, and thinking of how each reacts to the situations we're all in right now, whether it be political, health wise with the pandemic, um, job loss, children, so on and so forth. No school, some school, whatever's happening. And I was thinking back to the 1930s, the dirty 30s, they call it the Great Depression, and thinking of how they handled everything in those days. I mean, it's just something that came into my head. You know, how our grandparents, because it wasn't, my mom was born in 1930, so it would have been her mom and dad. So, how my grandparents handled dealing with shortages of food, no jobs, et cetera, et cetera, all of the things that they had to deal with during the Depression. And that was that generation. And then there was, um, later on, the World War II. And for my dad was too young for World War II, but he was in the army for the Korean War, and he did go to Korea. And that how families dealt with things that were thrust upon them by the governments. They're in a war. They have no choice. I don't know. In the States, I guess you were drafted. Vietnam, the war in Vietnam was another area of time when people had to deal with things. And and then our generation, growing up in the 50s and 60s, 70s, um, it was more the end of the Vietnamese War. It was the end of the war in Vietnam, I should say. Um, Although Canada was not involved, I know the U.S. was. That was pretty, you know, understandable. But for us during the '60s, it was, the love generation. And it's funny that I'm talking about this now with this being Martin Luther King Day, I believe, in the States. This is Monday night, so Monday, where, I had a dream, you know, growing up with that, with the the love situation, the drugs, the hippies, the love child, the communes, and et cetera, and all of those things, and that generation, how they handled things. And then I'm looking at my children's generation. They're now handling the pandemic, or are they? And I wonder about how they are not handling it well. And not so much my daughter's generation, but the one after that. So it wouldn't be her children, of course, because they're too young. These are children, but I don't know what Generation X, I don't know millennials, I don't know what you call the different generations, but I'm thinking of these young people who have had everything in their whole life, everything, and they've got everything. They've got every technology available to them. Now, not everybody has a computer. I think most schools tried to give children who didn't have that at home to have it, to work at home. But it's like they feel privileged. And I look at it and I wonder, um, they feel that any any sort of, no, not all, it's just generalization. I generalized about the Depression. I generalized about the Second World War. I generalized about the the war in Vietnam, and the hippie '60s and so on. um, a lot of the millennials have no idea what a lot of their ancestors went through and really don't seem to care. They seem to be at an age, and it is our fault because we hadn't taught them, or maybe because the world is going crazy and things are thrown at them, literally thrown at them, to where they don't have to make a judgment call. I remember years ago, I was working and I had known a few young people who came to work, and if they didn't like it, if it wasn't fun, they left. Whereas when I went to work, I was thankful that I got a job. But the kids, and I admired that, but that can go too far, you know. But I admired that. I thought, gee, I wish I could have been like that. I wish I could have done that. I wish I could have gone into a job and said, I'm qualified for this job. I want the job, but if it's not fun, I'm leaving. You know, and all the bosses, of course, uh, what are you crazy? You know, kind of thing. But eventually, that became an acceptable thing where they didn't put up with like we did with jobs and things. And I'm amazed that now with the pandemic, there are a lot of people who feel privileged. No, that's not the word. That's not the word. Feel imposed upon to follow the guidelines, the health guidelines, to keep us all safe in order to destroy what's destroying a lot of us, which is this virus. And it's, I shake my head in amazement of the complete irresponsibility of it all. You know, um, feeling that they have rights to certain things. And unfortunately, your rights go in the toilet when it comes to the safety of a community. And a community can be your street, your town, your city, your province, your state, whatever that may be, your country. And I'm just finding it amazing. It's not just the millennials, there's a lot of people that, for some reason, don't seem to grasp the danger of this you know, a lot of them saying, oh well, it's just old people and they're going to die anyway. And that's heartless and that's horrible, because one day they're going to be that old person, and a young person is going to come up and say, we don't care about you. And that's sad. That's truly sad. And it's unfortunate. The world has evolved in sort of a dual or a parallel system where we have all of this wonderful technology, but we've got all of these people that are consumed by this new technology, and these, you know, where everything is wide open, and these people come in judgmental. They come in being felt that they're privileged, deserving, and without earning. And deserving without earning is not deserving. And I just, I shake my head and I do a lot of praying. I do a lot of praying. But there is something on the other side of all of this. And I'm curious to know. I wish I had a crystal ball that I could see what is in store beyond this bubble that we're in right now. And it's going to be interesting to watch. And I wish that I had, you know, maybe kept up my writing skills to journalize all of this and see what comes out later on, and to see later on in the books to come, in the years to come, the effects on certain people and their either empathy or their disregard, because that is basically what it comes down to. I didn't want to lecture. It's just I found it fascinating that I noticed different groups of people reacting different ways to the limitations that we are all faced because of what our elected officials are trying to do the best they can. They've never been through this before, and trying to come up with the best solution for everyone. And staying home is really difficult. Now, there are dangerous situations of staying home. There are abuses that go on, there's depression that goes on, suicides, um, hurt, hurting people, and things like that. But these are people that are already and were hurting before. This has just kind of exploded it. And maybe it's time for all of us to be more aware of what's been going on um, behind closed doors and be more sympathetic, empathetic, both, both. Anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox, but it's just I'm curious to see the various generations on how they handle things. And it's not only just generations on how they handle things, but personalities in those generations. Because I'm of one generation, and uh, a neighbor of mine or a peer of mine may handle it totally different and may be totally surprising to me. I mean, I'm in my little bubble and I only see what I see and what I experience and who I meet and who I talk to. But there are others out there that find that my complacency is horrible, and I should be stomping my feet and saying, no, this is my right. You should not make me do this, and all of those things. But unfortunately, um, it's not just me. You know, it's human. It's humankind that we're trying to save. And where I thought other parts of the world were coming to terms with this pandemic, it's evolving again. It's reoccurring with variances, and it's scary. But my curiosity is how various generations handle the whole situation, whether it be the lack of supplies or the lack of food or the shutdowns or the losing jobs or losing, and how people deal with all of those things. It's just very, very curious for me, and I'm curious, I guess, to see what's going to happen after we get out of this bubble. Anyway, guys, it was a totally heavy one. This was not the video I had videotaped earlier. It was a totally different one. But I started to get on a rant, and I started remembering a few people, young people that I had met and I heard when I was in one of the stores saying um, all kinds of things that the government shouldn't be doing this and the government shouldn't be doing that and so on. And it just brought that in my mind when I had heard it, that I'm thinking, and they were young people, and I was hoping that they were just having a conversation and not stamping their feet and throwing a temper tantrum. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. Tea with Me Tuesday. It's a long one again today. I apologize. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you can see beyond the bubble. I'm not quite sure I can see beyond it yet, but I'm hoping that once we burst it and break free, that we'll be able to have a deeper understanding of each other and a deeper understanding of the roles of our, elected officials and what they've had to do. Some of it popular, some of it not. It's like anything else. You can't please everyone. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.